Let's jump into chapter 1 of The Art of War, entitled Laying Plans. Now, there's a few items to cover in this chapter, but for this video, I want to cover the 5 factors. So when Sun Tzu kicks off Laying Plans chapter, one of the first things he covers is the mindset and the approach. So what we're getting at is before you ever get into a conflict, and the book is about warfare, but we can talk about sports. For this series, we're talking about math, but I need to jump back to the battlefield to make this point. Sun Tzu says before we're ever engaging in conflict, there are 5 factors we must consider before we ever lay siege or start a battle. And I'm going to cover the 5 in this video. The first one is called the moral law. What does that mean? In any conflict, the side with the righteousness of the why, the powerful why in their life, will always win because they have a driving force above and beyond any superficial values. Now, the saying that goes with this, the modern day saying, is he who has a strong enough why can fight or deal with any how. That's what the moral law covers. So when we're talking about the moral law, a big part of this is congruence and unity of purpose. So how does that track with math class in your whole math career? From grade school, high school, college, and then beyond, how you're going to use this in the real world. First, congruence. Until you decide in your head that you're going to be a successful math student, and you can call it, I want to be an A math student, a B math student, or I'm going to be the best math student I can. If you don't incorporate this into your daily routine and your daily thoughts, you won't make it. And I don't care how much you study or the people you have helping you, you have to live congruent to that mindset. Now, what does that mean? If you make the decision, let's say in junior high or high school, that you're going to be an A math student, I want you to think about what an A math student does. Do you think they go out and stay out late and don't get a lot of sleep and have a poor diet, which would affect their cognitive ability? And the answer is no. And a good way to look at this is go find the top 2 or 3 math students, either in your class or in your school, and start watching what they do, right? This is no different than watching the best military generals, the best baseball, basketball players, the best chess players. They operate at a different level. And so you need to ask yourself, once you figure out what the successful traits and habits of those people are you going to live congruent to that? Are you going to adopt that in your daily habits? The second is unity of purpose. What that means is on your journey in life, and you may want to make more friends, you want to be more popular, you want to make more money, you want to dress better. Part of your purpose in life when you're advancing, if you want to get through math class, and math may not even be your major, but for some reason it's a roadblock, even if you're a liberal arts major, but you have to have math in your curriculum, then part of your unity of purpose must be math is going to be a daily discipline in my study, whether I like it or not. If I'm going to get over the hump of math class, it has to be part of the priorities I set in my day. So that's the moral law. You want to have the why, and you want to have the unity of purpose. The second of the 5 factors in the art of war is called heaven. And we're not going to get religious in this video, but when Sun Tzu says heaven, he's talking about night and day, cold and heat. And the last one is, it's the last one, times and seasons. Now you may ask yourself, what do I care about any of this for math class? And the answer is, do you study better and think better at daytime or nighttime? And that's an important question, because some people do their best work when everybody else is sleeping, either early in the morning or late at night. Some people love to get up at the crack of dawn before the sun lights up and do their best work, writers, some mathematicians. So the first thing you need to figure out in this battle of math class is, when do you do your best work, especially mental work? And then the next point of that is, figure out the time you operate the best mentally and schedule that time for either studying or math homework. The second is cold and heat. This is a minor point, but important. Do you like to work in environments that are a little cooler or a little hotter? And you may not think this affects you, but for some people, if it's too hot in a room or too cold, it throws off their cognitive ability. And it's the little things that count. So think about your ideal environment for learning or homework or studying. The last is times and seasons. Now, you have 2 semesters a year. The seasons change in most places, as well as times. But think about, again, what time of day do you do your best work? And then what time of day do you do your worst work? Your job is avoid when you're at your worst when you attack math class. You want to be at your best. You want to be well fed, well rested, attentive, very happy, enthusiastic. So pick the right days, the times, and the temperatures. That's number 2. Number 3 in the 5 factors is Earth. And this comprised of distances, open ground, and opportunity. Open ground and opportunity. Now, since the book is about armed warfare, but we're talking about math, how do we square that circle? First is distances. Figure out a way to cut down the amount of time and distance between you and learning for math. What do I mean by that? Suppose you come home from school and you get home at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe you do your best homework at 7 o'clock at night. Most students take their backpack off, they drop it on the chair or on their desk, and then they say, hey, when it's time for math homework later, I'll just grab the stuff and do it. The wise ones cut the distance. What does that mean? When they get home at 3:30, they take their math book out, open it to the page of where their lesson or their homework starts, get the pen or pencil out, put it in the book, and get the notepad out and everything ready. So now they've done this at 4 o'clock when they get home. So when they get there at 7, everything is out and ready. You've just saved time and you've saved stress. Because remember, as the day goes on, most of us get tired. Our willpower drops, our energy drops. So if you make it easier to do homework, you close the distance between you and success. Because there's a vision, there's a future of you've done your homework and you've finished. What does that look like? The easier you can close the distance between the you now and the you that finished homework, you'll get better grades with less stress. Next is open ground and opportunity. There are certain times on the battlefield where there's a ground between two armies, and either of them can take it, but either of them could also sit back and wait. Open ground for you in math classes: are there resources? Are there people? Are there videos? Are there connections you can make that will ease your learning? The first we talked about earlier, and I've talked about multiple videos. Have you networked with, went for coffee with, or even talked to the top 3 math students that you know, either in your class or in your school? If you haven't, you're automatically passing up a prime opportunity, because 15 minutes with them will speed up your learning curve faster than any book or pretty much any tutor that you can find, if they do it right and they can explain it. The other thing is opportunity. Are there certain networking groups in your school or friends you can get with that know better methods to study? Do they have, you have your textbook in school, but are there other resources they know about that you don't? Or have you ever been invited to a math study group? Maybe they're not your usual friends or your usual connections, but maybe somebody in this group is giving you an open door to help you study better and learn better. The key is recognize opportunity when it presents itself, and sometimes it's subtle. So I'll give you an example of this. There was a C student I worked with and an algebra class, and he hung out with his usual group of friends, and I suggested, look, maybe you should just one day try to find out where some of the math groups hang out. Maybe the smartest kid or somebody that's on the math leads or the math team. And so one day in, I think it was science class, this kid struck up a conversation with somebody on the math team, and I guess they shared a mutual passion for a video game. Long story short, they ended up talking and started studying together, and guess what happened to the grades? They went from a C to a B because the smarter person taught them a few shortcuts. And had this person not recognized the opportunity to go to that video game meeting the one day and learn more about this person, that relationship would have never happened, and they never would have learned those tricks. So see opportunity when it's there and pounce on it. Number 4 in the 5 factors is the commander. Now, we're not fighting real battles as we are on the field of battle in math class, but this stands for virtue, courage, values. So on the battlefield, and in sports competitions, we tend to look up to leaders. Who's brave? Who has the right values? Who can take us from where we are to where we want to go? Maybe somebody has traits that you wish you had, that you admire, and because of that leadership, they take you to a higher level than you would have ever got by yourself. The same principle applies in math class, and we can go back to the smartest students or the right networking. But first, figure out the virtues and the habits of both the best math students and then the ones you'd like to see in your life that you know could help get you better grades. And part of that is eliminating bad habits. Eliminating bad habits. In earlier videos, and maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't, I talk about a principle called inversion. And Warren Buffett's investment partner, Charlie Munger, talked about this in an interview. And he was asked, how did you and Warren make so much money with so few bad investments? And Munger said, we practice something called inversion. And inversion, the simple definition is, instead of trying to find out how to do something right, instead figure out what you do to hurt your progress and just eliminate it. So Charlie Munger says, we have gotten so much money and value by avoiding stupidity than instead of seeking brilliance. And why is that so profound for math class? Because it is easier to subtract something out of your life than it is to add. But here's the magic. If you subtract bad habits, you actually get a benefit called addition by subtraction. When you take away bad habits, bad mindsets, bad behaviors, half the time you don't even have to replace them. Your life will automatically get better. So part of the virtue and the values and the courage is, do you have the courage to start eliminating bad behaviors you know are dropping your scores in math class? And some of the time it has nothing to do with math class. You can be staying up too late, you can be eating the wrong foods, you can be hanging out with the wrong people. People that may drag you down or give you shame for wanting to get better grades. So figure out the right people to hang out with, the right diet, the right sleeping schedule, health, fitness, all of it. And figure out also the bad habits and figure out a way to drop them. Let's close this video out with the 5th of method and discipline. Okay, so method and discipline. So on the battlefield, military stress discipline. We all polish our boots, we all fold our clothes a certain way, we all stand a certain way at attention when somebody of higher rank comes into the room. There's a big process to that, and a lot of that is so we have a uniformity of mindset and a uniformity of action. You aren't in math class is not the military, but the point of this is discipline is one of the most boring traits that you can think about. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's not an attractive thing to talk about. But I tell you what, discipline will get you a lot farther in math class than genius ever will. And the second piece of this is method. So you may have the right mindset, you may have the right people around you, but you may have the wrong method to solving math problems or approaching math homework. So first is, the discipline goes back to some of this is, do you have the mindset and the ability to say no to the wrong things that are hurting your progress in math class? And then secondly, do you have the discipline to switch up your life to better alter it so you can get better scores and have less stress in math class? And the second piece of method and discipline is, do you follow the right steps in the right order to get the best grades? You may have the right steps, but you're doing the wrong order. And this happens more often than you would imagine. So method and discipline give you a structure. And some of you may be freewheeling, you don't like a lot of structure, but for math class, it's a huge asset. And it may take time for you, but if you can develop method and discipline, it will do wonders for your grades. So again, this is the 5 factors. We'll close out chapter 1, and I will see you in the next Art of War video.